Hello, and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
We're coming at you with the brand new Mortal Kombat 2 movie, the one that just came out in theaters. And boy, I have to say, if there was ever a movie that turned the ship around and really just went 100% in the right direction, like this movie did all that and almost more. Like I was so blown away by it. Like I don't even know what more to say. It's just about the fact that like it was so good and there was like no rough spots whatsoever in it. And the fact that like when you think of that previous Mortal Kombat movie, that I will say I like probably a fraction more on our second watch of that.
Yeah.
But still, it's, you know, there's an elephant in the room the whole time you're watching it, kind of, you know, and multiple things that are goofy. This movie, on the other hand, changes all that, and it just comes in just like firing on all cylinders.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I was trying to take a look here. The movie was 116 minutes, so just a little over 2 hours. Right? I've left that theater.
There's a fraction under 2 hours, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I had just. I had left the theater thinking I'd only just got there. I was so pleased overall. I mean, like you said, on the second watch of that 2021, the reboot, I did enjoy the movie a bit more than the first time I watched it, but I was still kind of let down on a few different things, of course. And, you know, we talked about the strange choice of a main character and whatnot, which we see what happened with that guy. And Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah. If you didn't like Cole in the first one, well, you'll see what they do to him in the second one. All I have to say though is there's got to be somebody that this is the only version of Mortal Kombat they've ever seen of these movies, and the walk into that second one, if that was like you assuming that's the main character, and you're like, oh, there he goes.
There he goes, and you know it's yeah. I would say he gets a little redemption in this film because he does beat his opponent. It just doesn't help that his opponent turns out to be immortal and he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
But aside from that, no, man, I was so pleased. And, you know, we talked about before the movie, you know, I shared with you the Shao Kahn popcorn bucket, which is pretty cool. And they're pretty big. Because I saw one at the theater that I went to that's an hour and a half away purely for this bucket. And why would I think that they release these buckets and all the merch a week before the movie even comes out, right? You know, I'm thinking, yeah, the day of, they're going to set that stuff out and whatever. Nope. We showed up. There were some of the other kind of buckets that I was like, you know what? After looking at this, I don't even want it. And I'm like, there's no Shao Kahn buckets. And I'm looking around. My wife looks, she goes, oh, the shelves over here that are all barren, you know, that have a big sign of the Shao Kahn bucket. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And because I got us the first showing of the day on the day the movie came out at this. Well,
then you saw it the second day, though.
No, I saw it on May 8th, the day that
on Friday, though. That's the second day, though.
I thought it was released on the 8th. Like
they always say that, but the movies always come out the day before.
Like on
because I was going to go see it on May 8th, and then Laura just happened to be feeling under the weather, so we decided to push it back a couple of days. And once I pushed it back a couple of days, I realized I'm like, well, I'm not getting that popcorn bucket now. So instead, I'm going to a closer theater with an IMAX, and that was my way to see it.
Yeah, I always forget about the midnight showings, and then I guess if they do have them earlier in the day,
they're not even midnight ones. They stopped doing the midnight ones like 15 years ago. They stopped doing them after Batman, actually. I was there at the last midnight showing like era. But no, nowadays they do the thing where they just show the movie on Thursdays. Thursday's always opening day, and they always play like literally from noon onwards.
That's weird. I mean, why would they? Yeah, whatever. So, okay,
like I think it was that to replace the midnight showings, as they just decided to do the Thursday showings. Guess.
Well, there I am, a day late and $1 short.
And a Shao Kahn bucket, like not to be found.
I'm like, man, I could have gone to the theater that's 5 minutes away from my house. Like, but my wife, she's like, I'm not leaving without that helmet, you know, like, so we left, yes, without the helmet. She ordered it online from somewhere. I'm like, you didn't have to do that. It's not that big of a deal. But she's like, no, we're getting that helmet. This is disappointing. And they had a bucket, but it arrived without the horns on it on the front.
Oh,
and
so
I didn't realize it at first. I'm like, is that one for sale? And the manager was like, yeah, we can sell it to you, but you know, it doesn't have the horns and we can't change the price. It's going to be normal price. I'm like, why would I do that? Like, no, keep the.
Yeah, I hate to start saying, you just give it to me for half price. Then if it's missing the horns,
exactly.
Like,
it's so
you
stupid.
cheap son of a bitch.
But that said, it was nice going to that Regal. It was actually like a Regal owned, but it was some other like probably company that they bought out or something. And it was a normal movie theater as opposed to the one in my town that, while it's very nice, their focus is all on like the real fancy, like luxury theater aspect. And like, I don't know, man, I miss seeing the wacky, zany, like neon lights and what do you call it? You know, the arcade areas and whatnot. And yep. I feel like I stepped back in time a little bit.
Yeah, more of the old school ones and so on.
Sadly enough, it was an arcade. They removed them all, but that space.
Yeah, that space is still there. Yeah. See, that's kind of the bummer is like they released this cool Shao Kahn helmet popcorn bucket thingy at Regal of all things. And of course, that was the cinema that was in my town forever.
It's gone.
And then it closed in January. It's like, well, of course, because mostly it was always like Regal never seemed to get the really good stuff. It seemed like AMC got better things and some of the other cinemas. And finally, Regal gets on really badass, and guess what? There's not a Regal here. So
I still can't believe it, man. I can't believe that theater is gone. I mean,
I think about that all the time.
I moved to that area. Gosh,
it's
in
weird
2002.
To say,
and
yeah.
I was so happy that, you know, of course, where I lived, it was almost like the opposite place of where you were at on the mountain. You know, we both, if we wanted to see counties, movie, basically went to that one. You know, for me, it was
like a U.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like 45 minutes away from me. There was another mom and pop theater, and you know, an Angels Camp. There's that one too. But that Regal, I just felt like it was so great. And yeah, can't imagine how many movies I've seen there. And now it's gone.
It's weird to be in California and say that you have to drive like an hour and a half to get to a movie theater.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know, and nowadays it's like that's kind of what it is. So it is kind of a bummer for the fact that like my casual movie theater going is like totally. It's like, you know, I gotta really want to see a movie if I'm gonna spend all that extra time and money to go see them somewhere else. You know,
oh for sure.
You know, and lo and behold, Mortal Kombat was the one because the only other movie I've seen this year is Mario. And God, I saw Mortal Kombat. And we were already down there at like a Galaxy, and we're like, shit, they got an IMAX showing. I'm like, if I'm driving all the way down here, I'm going big or going home.
And yeah, so lo and behold, I didn't get my bucket there, but I got to say, when I walked out of that movie, I was I didn't care. I would have been all right if I drove 3 hours to see that movie.
Yeah,
that's stretching a little bit, but I mean, I was just what a film. I think it's almost like they took every negative aspect, or at least everything that a fan could have complained about the first film, and actually listened and fixed things and changed things. I guess everything, man, everything that we talked about in the last film that we were like, this is dumb or this is weird or why would they do this? They took care of it. Liu Kang, he is no longer a K idol.
Yeah, he is now buff as fuck in this one.
Jacked. Oh man, and him fighting that Kung Lao fight, that might have been the best fight in the movie.
It was so good. Well, and the fact too is like, I think of all the complaints that we sort of had too is like, you know how the other one, how it kind of doesn't really feel like it's a Mortal Kombat movie sometimes because of the backgrounds. It's like they're just using like regular locations. Where this one literally looks like legitimate stages out of Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah, they did a really cool job filming some of the fights where they set it, you know, like where it's two characters that are facing each other side to side, you know. That was really cool. But yeah, no, so you know, for anyone that has watched the first one and is going to watch the second one, whatever, or doesn't care about spoilers, I don't know. You know, it takes place right after the events of the first film. And I was thinking about this today. I don't even know if a person needs to watch the first film to watch this movie.
I thought that same thing too, because when I was walking out of it, I was like, as long as you just have a slight prior Mortal Kombat knowledge, you don't need to technically see the first one. Like realistically, you could watch the original 1995 Mortal Kombat movie and just walk straight into this movie, and you're totally taken care of.
It almost seems like a reimagining of the first film. Granted, there's a few characters that are in the first that are in this one that aren't in the first, and there's characters in the first that aren't in this one. But I mean, yeah, it's you actually have the tournament. I thought the opening was really cool because you don't really ever get anything about Jared, Kitana's father, in the games, except for like, character endings when they talk about, oh, Jared, this and that, whatever. And then, of course, in the Mortal Kombat 1, where Ermac becomes Jared, the joke of a plot. It's so stupid. But but in this one, he's a pretty badass guy.
Yeah, and, he's in the beginning. You get literally this Kitana origin story where she's like a little girl and whatnot. She's watching her whole realm get taken over by Shao Kahn. Yeah, Jared's the last like defense for this, and he's got to go battle Shao Kahn. So you get this badass battle right off the bat.
Super cool. And I was a little. One of the things I was kind of nervous about before watching this movie and seeing a couple of trailers was the Shao Kahn, because you didn't get that many shots of him, and I thought he was going to be a weird, like, I don't know what, just because I only remember seeing like the helmet and stuff, and I was like, man, is he just going to be like a weird Skeletor like thing, But no way. He was almost like MK9 tier Shao Kahn. It was pretty cool, and I think, of course, this is Warner Brothers. I don't know if NetherRealm Studios has any involvement in this. I didn't really care.
Well, Ed Boon has a cameo in it, so the creator of Mortal Kombat, so he's there. Not John Tobias, sadly. I still always wonder what happens to John Tobias. He's probably so bummed he sold off his like stock.
Oh, I know, man. I know. But I really feel like the people that made this took a lot of cues, whether they realized it or not. I don't know. From like MK9 through 11.
Yeah, well, I want to say this really quick before we get too far, is this movie has the same director, Simon McQuaid, as the first movie, but they changed the writer to Jeremy Slater. And I think that's probably what sort of fixed it, was the fact that they probably got a different writer guy who probably understood Mortal Kombat a little bit better. And who knows, the studio could have been doing some goofy stuff. You know how that sometimes kind of is. But I felt this time around, it's just like, make it really Mortal Kombat-like. Don't try to do your own original thing.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I don't know. I always wonder with these, like with video game adaptations, like, do they have somebody play it first? You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like it wouldn't surprise me if the guy played, 9 through 11. I don't know about 1, but it seems like there's a lot of things there that are very similar from 9 to 11. But regardless,
and then Mortal Kombat 2, because there's a lot of the original Mortal Kombat 2. That is, it does actually use a lot of elements from that game, which I think is actually pretty sweet.
I think the biggest thing that was like, oh yes, like I can already tell this is going to be fantastic, was the opening title, the opening credits, where it shows that cloudy kind of bluish purplish sky with the lightning and the letters outlining it. It looked just like Mortal Kombat 2. When you open it up on Nintendo or Sega or whatever, that was like, oh man, okay, so they're doing something right here. Yeah. And then we get a fresh new character who's immediately destroyed. Brutal fight between Jared and Shao Kahn. Really cool. And you're thinking like, well, I guess you'd have to know like Shao Kahn's going to win.
Yeah, Jared's not. But I love also too is like the fact of like how much damage Jared kind of does to Shao Kahn. It has that more because he's like cutting him up and blood shooting out like you'd expect to see in a Mortal Kombat game, and just like taking a beating. Yet Shao Kahn's going to still.
Well, yeah. And that scene, him being able to damage and fight and go toe to toe against Shao Kahn, did a handful of things. It shows that Shao Kahn's not immortal. He's immortal-like, he's godlike, but he's not immortal. He can be hurt. It shows how cool Jared is. Shows what a skilled fighter that guy is. I hope they have him in a future game. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think they should.
And but it also shows how resilient at the same time, like what a tank that Shao Kahn is. Like he's taking all kinds of damage, right? He's kind of getting his butt kicked, but then lo and behold, he's like, okay, I'm kind of sick of this. And
overpowering.
And oh man, just brutal fight too. Like right there at the end where he just rips Jared's hand right through his blade, or no, he rips his own hand through his blade, and then cuts all his fingers off. Jared's finger. Just, oh man, and that was something else. And kind of a real Thanos like scene where he, like tells Katana, like, "You're my daughter now."
Yeah, I'm taking you. No questions asked.
And then, then it goes back into kind of like.
Well, it also shows Sindel there too, as well.
If I had to complain about this movie at all, and it would be kind of a half-hearted complaint, is I thought the Sindel fight, my wife and I agreed on this, but I thought the Sindel and Sonya was kind of cool, a couple parts of it, but also kind of just okay.
It's slightly lackluster. I thought the same thing too. I felt for the fact that it's Sindel that it should have been a little bit more extreme. And then it's like they use Sindel like with her screaming voice, so they got that, and they do a good job using that tech. But they totally forget why don't they have the hair whip? I was waiting for that the whole time too. And
that's what my wife said. Yeah,
I felt like that was the thing. I was like, what? And then the fact that like she's kind of defeated early on, but you realize later that she comes back. But even still, she comes back, but then she's not really used later either.
She's just really underused. Which, I mean, whatever. Like I said, it wasn't the end of the world. I felt like the whole rest of the movie made up for that. But if there was like, gun to my head, what am I going to say about this? It's not 100% positive. That'd have pretty much been it.
Yeah, the most minor nitpick, but I do agree there too.
Yeah, and I think there was one other thing, but honestly, I don't even remember at this point. I really don't. I guess maybe talking about the movie, it might come back out, but no. So I mean, they pick up right after that intro of Katana and all that. They pick up where the last film more or less left off. They're still trained. This is also kind of a nitpick, but at the end of the first one, Cole, tells the guy at the gym like, "Oh, I'm headed to L.A."
To meet Johnny Cage.
Then it shows Johnny Cage on the poster, but Cole had nothing to do with getting Johnny Cage. That was all Sonya and Raiden.
It's like they kind of spaced on that there. But I guess because like they're really trying to write Cole out though, because Cole's pretty much just like
fair enough.
So I get it. It's one of those ones that they kind of were fixing that issue. So instead, Sonya and Raiden go instead. I guess that's the one they probably just didn't want to give much screen. They just wanted him to have the bare amount of screen time, just enough that like so if somebody watched the first movie, they wouldn't feel like where the hell did that guy go.
Yep. Now that's I was another thing I was very curious about. I don't want to say I was nervous about it, but I was very curious was how was Carl Urban gonna play Johnny Cage, and my wife was saying that she was like couldn't see it because the characters that she's seen him were like very serious, typically tough, like brutes, and namely the last two characters I can think of with him would be Butcher on the show called The Boys and Éomer on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and, I always think of him as Judge Dredd as well, and Bones in Star Trek. Right.
Yep, and
and I thought that too because the thing is like Carl Urban. When I picture Johnny Cage, I picture him always being kind of like the pretty boy, kind of, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, but that kind of thing. And Carl Urban always feels like he hasn't really ever seen like a pretty boy. He seems kind of like a rugged guy and so on like that, and so on. But I was still curious because I know that he is like one of those guys who really appreciates the material and all kinds of stuff.
And what really kind of I like what they did where it wasn't where MK95 was kind of like, I don't know if that was necessarily towards the end of his acting career or maybe like in the middle or something, but he didn't quite seem like a washout in the 95 version. Whereas in this one, he doesn't even have an acting career anymore. He's just trying to sell his merch at Comic Cons and nobody cares. So
he's got old news
career Johnny Cage, which I think was the best choice to do for the Carl Urban Cage. And
Yeah, well, and I felt that was what worked, is because he was sort of like the wash up kind of Johnny Cage, and Carl Urban fit that one really well. Where like in the '95 one, I think he's just supposed to be like literally, it's like Jean-Claude Van Damme, but kind of almost like the height of his career. I feel like that's how Johnny Cage was initially kind of like wrote in, and I think as time has went on, they've kind of used it more like he's almost kind of like this actor from back in the day that had a couple of hits, and then that's been about it since then.
Mm-hmm. One thing about this film was I was constantly surprised. This movie had me guessing what was next, and there wasn't much that I could predict. I love how Sonya and Raiden go to recruit Johnny Cage. They obviously do some magic stuff. Raiden shoots lightning out of his fingers and whatnot, and Johnny Cage is like, "Wow, oh my god!" Like, okay, sure, and goes through the portal with them to after his Comic-Con where he's like depressed, and they tell him the whole spiel. All the fighters there, Sonya, Raiden, Liu Kang, Jax, Cole, and I think that was it.
I guess that's it. Yeah. And it's pretty much like the core four. You would say Jax and then Cole.
Mm-hmm. They do that and tell them like, yeah, this is what's up with it. The tournament's gonna, we'll save the world and whatever. Because initially they get Johnny Cage to come through the portal because they say, yeah, it's a tournament. You come discover who you're meant to be and whatever. And he's like, okay, cool. Like you've shown me magic. This is great. So he goes through the portal. And then when they give him the whole story after he goes to the portal and about how he could potentially be murdered, he's like, yeah, fuck that. And
tournament
walks right out of the, and I love it, man. And Sonya's like, you're chosen, the elder gods could just summon you back. He's like, whatever. And so he just goes to the bar. And that's where you get the Ed Boon cameo, which is great.
Yeah. He's the bartender.
And he's himself. And I love how, there's a fan who apparently loves Johnny Cage. He loves his movies and stuff. And he tells him like, man, you were great. And Johnny Cage, he's drunk. He's like, yeah, fuck that dude. Like nobody likes me anymore. And then, of course the tournament begins. And he gets whisked away. The elder gods have pulled him out of that bar and faced him off against Kitana, which at this point we've also seen her prior to this fight with Jade, who I also really like Jade's character.
I thought the Jade one was done really well in this.
Yeah, pretty dang cool. Katana's, I don't think Kitana could have been any better. In fact, I don't think there was a single character in this film that wasn't portrayed really well.
Well, it's perfect example is I'll just compare it once again to that first one, is that it's like the Melina character. I just always felt like that Melina character was just slightly off in that one. Like she's just like, I don't know, it felt kind of like a half-assed version and so on like that. Where in this one, all the characters feel like, no, they feel like who they're supposed to be. They feel like they're in their costumes and the right colors and all that kind of stuff.
No, yeah, that's for sure. I think the only character that you could say was a bit odd in this film would be Baraka.
They make him a little bit kind of comic reliefy, but he actually I thought he looked great though.
Yeah, I thought he was awesome. I mean, he's not as good as Mortal Kombat Annihilation. But
not as good mask that they had like as that one did.
A rubber mask and literal plastic sword arms. But no, I thought his character was so fantastic. For gosh, again, so many reasons. They just hit the nail on the head every way they could. His face looked terrifying. His bone swords that come out of his arms are great. They're not swords like in the old Annihilation. And not only are they bones, but he can shoot them out, which is of course a classic Baraka move. I like how they've got a lot of, once again, like in the whole scene where you see him, the whole setting where you see him is Tarkatan village and whatnot. It looked to me quite a bit like the Tarkatan village, whatever you want to call it, in MK11. But no, he was really cool, terrifying, but also a little bit goofy. But it was it was well done. It wasn't too much like some of the Disney or Marvel films, you know.
Well, that's the thing is the comedy that's in here was perfectly dialed in. Like they understood it, because that's always one of my biggest complaints to a lot of the Marvel ones is they don't understand what's slapstick and what's like normal stuff that you can have. Like, you know, you're pulling me out of the movie. This one was like it worked. Everything felt real. It didn't feel like odd.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, the katana, she fights Johnny Cage, and you know, this is immediately after they tell him about the tournament. He goes and checks it out or hears what they have to say and then turns him down. Well, he gets pulled right back in after being told he's one of Earth's chosen, immediately gets his butt kicked, loses, you know, and you know, it's like now he's probably super depressed because, well, he just he definitely did not do Earthrealm a solid by losing the fight, but
and the first one to lose.
Exactly, yeah.
And I hate to say, and it's Johnny Cage, and he lost to a girl. If you think about his personality,
and that was, that was hilarious. And you know, of course, he gives the lines you would expect, I guess. You know, like, "Hey, babe, I don't want to hurt you," you know, and she just totally beats his ass. And he put up a pretty good fight. For probably being hammered and older, you know, out of practice. And meanwhile, Katana's probably trained for like the last, I will say 9,000 years, even though they don't ever say exactly how old she is or Shao Kahn or whatever.
In this one here, I don't think she has that like she's 1,000 years old type thing. Yeah. I think she's literally just a normal age in this one, because maybe. I almost want to say when they had that prequel section and so on like that, it made it feel like it was just like 23 years later or something like that, you know. I can't remember. There was something in that beginning part that kind of made it feel like it was like, and that's not I don't mind it. Like, you know, she doesn't have to be 1,000 years old.
I don't care if she's ancient. I don't. Doesn't really do anything to the story whether she is or isn't. So, but yeah, and then of course you find out, which I kind of had the idea since she didn't kill Johnny Cage after the fight, that she's kind of secretly helping Earthrealm. And you get that idea because she's given a trinket right before her dad dies, that it's a little necklace that she can go see Raiden whenever she wants and whatever. But yeah, and then so you see that, and then of course Sonya's fight, who fights Sindel, really cool. And this is another really cool part was as soon as Sonya shows up, you know, to her area where she fights, I'm like, that's the pit.
Yeah, and she's in the pit. I thought it looks great, and like there's spikes everywhere and all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, no, that was awesome. I think there could have been a little bit more done there with Sindel, but that's okay. Basically, you know, Sonya wins and whatnot. She uses her power, and one cool thing about this movie, well, I don't know if it's cool or not, but they don't do any of the Arcana stuff from that last film.
Yeah, they toss that. Well, once again, all the crappy, goofy stuff they did in that last one feels like it's just thrown out. Like they're like, we're cleaning house here.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it was great. And no, I was kind of worried about that whole thing happening with Johnny Cage. You know, like them, like, okay, Johnny, now it's time to find your Arcana. You know, and whatever. But no, thank goodness somebody made that decision. Like, forget that. You know, like nobody cares.
Yeah. And it's more just like you unlock it like an X-Men character.
And I was reading an article earlier today that one of the people that were making the film, they were like, yeah, no, we decided to do away with that Arcana thing because we did not want that to be our midichlorian. Like the prequels
like
with their
Star Wars.
Yeah. And good choice, good decision, because it's just one more thing to complicate lore. You know what I mean? And usually with stuff that nobody cares. It's just stupid, but
yeah.
But and then gosh, you know, there's dialogue in this movie. You know, there's a plot, there's a story, but I swear it felt like it was fight after fight after fight after fight. And
but like in a good way. Like it was done well, where like it felt balanced still, because you still did have a little bit of dialogue in between, because that's kind of like how Annihilation is fight after fight after fight. And I will say in that one, it's probably could use a little bit of dialogue almost in between.
That's for sure. They bring Kano back, of course. So one thing you get early on in the movie is Shao Kahn employing Quan Chi and Shang Tsung to do some dirty work and whatnot. And if you remember in the first film, Kano steals Shinnok's amulet from the temple that they're at. And Liu Kang tells him to put it back, and he's like, oh, okay. And he puts it back, but then apparently he steals it again and puts it in his pocket. And I'm only wondering, did Sonya not search him after she killed him in the first movie? Like, hey, what do you need? Like, I don't know. I sure would have. It's Kano.
Yeah.
But apparently he's just dead, laying somewhere. I don't even know if she buried him with Shinnok's amulet in his pants. And they get Kano, and they, I thought Quan Chi was really cool looking, but I also thought he was a little funny looking. But I don't know. But I once again, like, I'm not gonna complain about it. But he, a couple of the voices. That's another thing I was gonna bring up about Baraka. I've never seen Baraka in any of the, well, I guess it's only the NetherRealm games that I've heard his voice. I don't remember in the ones prior, but he kind of has that sinister, kind of higher pitched, like scowling kind of voice. And this one, he's real brutal, like a barbarian or something, which I guess I just wasn't expecting it, but nothing wrong with it. Quan Chi had kind of a funnier voice than I was expecting. Noob. We see Noob, which I thought was awesome. I expected kind of a ghastly voice. It was kind of normal.
I mean, he talks like, how he did as Sub-Zero in the first one. Like,
but I mean, once again, nitpicks not on the movie, but more on just if you are a huge fan of Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you were expecting something just a fraction different.
Yeah, but gosh, I don't know that from there to the end of the movie, it's just for a big fan, you kind of expect how it's going to go. It's the tournament. I thought it was kind of cool in this one where they have the things that light up in the sky. The counter. And
you have pretty much 5 Earthrealm guys and 5 Outworld guys, and and they do the thing too. Also, when they do the fights, 2 people are chosen at a time from each side, so they do this like cutting back and forth thing to pretty much make it feel even more action packed because you can cut back and forth between multiple battles and so on. And I feel like you have these 2 fights going on at the same time, and they're kind of certain characters win, certain characters die. One they also, even with Quan Chi, is not only did he bring back Kano, and they kind of explain like he just didn't have enough time, so he brings him back just normal. Yeah. But he also brings back Kung Lao before that, and he brings him back as a Revenant, which I thought was actually really cool that they used that in there. So you could have not only the Kung Lao guy come back, but then using the Revenant thing just makes it feel like it fits so much more into like a Mortal Kombat story. Yeah,
exactly. And you don't see it. I guess you don't really see it with Kung Lao either, but he did the same thing. I'm assuming that it was him that did the same thing with Sindel.
Yeah.
Because when they show her, when Katana's an adult, she's the same thing. She looks dead. She got the black eyes and she's looking dead. So when Sonya defeats her, kills her, well, she's back again at Shao Kahn's throne, but she did lose. So
yeah, I almost kind of wonder if they were going to do the same thing with like Melina as well too, but they never really did.
Yeah, I wonder. I thought about that. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I don't think it's like you didn't have to, but that would have been. You could have brought back Melina, and then you could have just slightly fixed her costume just a little bit, and just made her feel a little bit more Melina-like.
I guess the beauty of not bringing back dead enemies from the first film is that they were able to introduce more enemies.
New ones
in this one.
Yeah. I kind of agree there too. You don't need to bring back too many. Like Kung Lao kind of worked. Kano, as well. I felt like that still fit in there to have those 2.
I think I like Kung Lao in this film even more than the first one because he was definitely one of the stronger characters. Not like big, strong, but I mean like one of the stronger presence characters in the first film. And in this one, it's like even more, like just so much charisma and just amazing stuff there. The fight with him. So he comes back, like you said, as a Revenant, and not even part of the tournament. He just gets sent. He is in the tournament, but before that, they just send him to Raiden's temple. Like no big deal. He just shows up, throws his hat, distracts him, and then slices Raiden's throat, which was a pretty cool scene, pretty interesting. Just blast the like light going. It was like Cyclops' eyes on Raiden's neck, basically shooting.
Yeah, so just all this light escaping out. Yeah, and lightning and so on.
And I don't remember what they stole. Somebody stole something or whatever right there. Oh, it was Shang Tsung. He basically stole Raiden's.
Yeah, because Raiden has an amulet thing too.
Yeah, but he like stole his. They took Shinnok's amulet from Kano after they revived him. Went to Raiden's place. Kung Lao showed up as a revenant, distracted him, threw his hat, sliced Raiden's throat. His soul's pouring out. Shang Tsung sucked it out and put it in Shao Kahn's amulet, or Shinnok's amulet.
Shinnok's amulet that now Shao Kahn will use to get immortality like Raiden.
Yep. So they do that. And of course, like, what a cheater. It's like, come on, dude, you have a really good chance of winning.
Yeah.
Who, then of course they kind of like, put a Band-Aid on Raiden once the villains escape.
I just like just floating there in the temple, just like,
Yeah. The slit throat.
Yeah.
But he, he's just laying there and they're looking after him and the tournament continues. And then it shows, they're going off to fight their respective opponents. So what's his name? Jax goes to fight Jade. Sonya's already fought. Johnny Cage has already fought. Liu Kang goes off to fight Kung Lao, and what's his name? Cole goes off to fight who other than Shao Kahn.
Yeah, and, right off the bat.
It's not that far into the movie, right? Like maybe halfway.
Not even that. I
don't even think it was
third in the movie of that.
And I'm just thinking like, well, Cole's gonna die, because there's no way Shao Kahn's gonna let him live.
No.
And I think that was the first one where the camera pans to where it's actually like if you were playing Mortal Kombat, which I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And the stage, the place that they're at looked like the flesh pits maybe, or
the one in Mortal Kombat 2 with the acid pit pretty much.
Yeah.
Because all these stages there's a lot of Mortal Kombat 2 stages in here.
Yeah. And but that was awesome. And pretty good fight. Cole, this is where I'd say Cole finally got his redemption.
Yeah, he shines a bit
worthless
here.
Character in the first film, he finally is like he tried and he succeeded. He, I would say, beat Shao Kahn, and pulled off some pretty cool moves. Sliced his throat. It should have been like I win, but of course he has no idea that Shinnok's amulet has been imbued into him, and he's immortal now. And he turns around and just absolutely beats the crap out of Cole, beats him and throws him over above, over above him and onto the floor, and then takes that hammer, and it happens so fast that you're like,
was that real?
I'm like,
that was all I got. I was like, wait a second, is he dead now or what?
That's the end of Cole.
And then to add insult to injury, Shao Kahn kicks him into the acid pit afterwards. So if you're wondering if he was still alive, not anymore. Here he goes.
It was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was brutal. And we were like, well, that's the end of him. And then Jax has beat what's his name? Jade. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I think this happens. Oh yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
I know, so some of these fights could happen. Not like next to each other in a sense, but
yes, Jax fights Jade. Pretty cool fight.
Yeah, another really cool one.
He beats her. And one thing was Katana asked them like, hey, like Jade's in the tournament. She's my best friend. She's like sister to me. Do what you must, but please don't make her suffer. And so Jax is like, he fights her and wins, and he spares her, and she wonders why. And he's like, Katana spared one of ours. Now we're even. And then takes a hike. And then I don't know, man. It might be I think the best fight overall in the film, even though I think there were some other really cool fight scenes with Liu Kang in the film. I just love that fight with him and Kung Lao. He fights
so
Kung
good.
Lao. Kung Lao's a revenant, of course. He's been brought back to think that they betrayed him, that he's gonna I don't know, that they all suck and he doesn't. Who knows?
Yeah, he's evil now.
Yeah.
Much.
And man, what a fight. Just so dynamic and so intense. Just the hats going everywhere, the spinny hat. And I like that they, just like in Mortal Kombat 10, Revenant Kung Lao, he's got the serrated bladed hat. They put that in this one. Just the attention to detail in this film. There's so many things that you pick up on. It's once again, especially if you're a fan of the game. And I want to say maybe it makes up for the 5-year wait. But yeah, just so much. And the Kung Lao spinning on his head.
And teleporting back and forth. It's just like, that's the thing too, is like they use the characters' moves, but they work them in there really well. Where it's like, I like Annihilation, how they use the moves in that one there. They do kind of feel shoehorned in there, like it's a video game movie kind of thing, but it's still cool. Where this one feels like it flows naturally, like they got their moves, and yet it still fits in there, and it doesn't feel like it's like kind of just shoehorned in.
Yeah, and you kind of, I wasn't sure because there's a point in the fight where Liu Kang, he's kind of not taking the offensive, and he's kind of just like I think he's holding on to Kung Lao, or he's blocking him or something, and he's telling him, he's right there in his face, he's like, look, Kung Lao, like, I know you're in there, come on, like, you got to break free of this, like, you're not, this isn't you. And Kung Lao, of course, is evil, is not clicking, that it ain't gonna happen. So he kind of realizes, I guess I got to keep fighting you, and excuse me, Kung Lao, he does more of his hat tricks and throws it in one of their clashes. That hat gets thrown down into the stone like so hard that it ain't coming back out. And Liu Kang's kind of bracing to fight, but then he finally kind of lets go for a minute, it seems. And I'm wondering, like, what is he doing? And Kung Lao gets that hat to spin, but it's just in the ground like a saw blade, and I'm like, oh man, what's coming? And he kicks Liu Kang. He runs up, kicks Liu Kang. Liu Kang takes the hit, and I'm thinking, is he sacrificing himself or something? Like, but then nope. He like gets kicked, pulls back, grabs Kung Lao, and just pulls him on top of that blade. I'm like, oh!
I just blast through his back, just grinding through.
Oh, and then his face while he's getting grinded, probably because he's dead. You know what I mean? Like, just doesn't care. He's just staring as he's getting like sawed away. But I'm like, oh man, Liu Kang promises he's going to bring him back. But once again, like, this still, like, I'm on my toes in this film. I am like, what's going to happen next? There wasn't a single thing yet that I was like, I knew that was going to happen. I mean, I guess you could say that the Sonya and Sindel fight, I was pretty damn positive she was going to win. But I mean, it was like, what I mean is, like, there was nothing that I'm like, predict, like, oh, that's so predictable, like this and that. It was like just constant, like, whoa, like,
yeah.
And
no, I know what you mean there for sure. Yeah, because it is a Mortal Kombat one. So Mortal Kombat does always have that, like, you can lose a main character in a battle, and like that feels like it would fit in a Mortal Kombat story.
Yeah. And then I think at that point they regroup after their fights, and they're like, what are we gonna do? Because like, Raiden's dying, Shao Kahn's supposedly immortal, because Katana shows up again at their like hideout temple, whatever it is.
She keeps going back. Yeah, of course, Jade's catching on to this, that Katana's going out there talking to Raiden.
Already been warned by her, because of course Jade, like, super cool, best friend, sister, but she's also like, but Shao Kahn's our emperor, so you can't be, misbehaving, Yeah,
and, I took an oath, Yeah,
it's like, so, but she catches her the first time, tells her, like, you can't be doing that. Jade also is the person who gave Katana her fans. Yeah. And I'll tell you, man, I was talking earlier about how they really did her right in the portrayal. Again, I think they did everyone solid, but when you look back on 95, Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Katana, she just looks like a yoga instructor or something.
Yeah, it just doesn't have as much of the outfit. Now, granted, I know that like Katana in Mortal Kombat 2, her outfit is a little bit simpler than it is over time.
Sure. But still, like in the first one, like fair. I mean, to be fair, Katana wasn't even in the first game, so
yeah.
whatever.
Well, I mean, like in the second game, that's the one where like her and Melina, they almost look like they're wearing like glorified swimsuits in a sense,
like leotards.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They look like one-piece swimming suits. But she had her fans. She had a mask.
Yeah, she had kind of like the armored look.
And in this film, they really make her look pretty dang good. Once again, I think she looks really comparable to the MK11 Katana. And those her fans are fantastic too. In the Mortal Kombat Annihilation, when they first show them before she like spreads them out, they almost look like foam batons or something. It's kind of hilarious.
They probably are foam.
And in this one, they're a gift from Jade. Her weapons are her fans and this like sash that Jared had that she took off his dead body, and she uses them all pretty damn well. But yeah, so she's been warned already. Don't go to Earthrealm by Jade, and she comes back, and of course Jade's like, no nonsense, just arrests her right there. And but that's after she tells the Earthrealmers like what they should do, and their plan is to go get that amulet and whatever. And they're trying to figure that shit out. They basically go and try to. Their plan is to go hijack that amulet from Shao Kahn's palace or whatever. And Katana, of course, on her way back, gets captured by Jade. So they're kind of on their own. Katana's been chained to a big giant rock or whatever. And the Earthrealmers are trying to get that amulet. And
this is where they go to visit Baraka first,
yes.
Correct?
Yeah. In order to do so, they got to go through the Tarkatan camp. And that's where, they show up. Liu Kang requests an audience with Baraka, who's like, interestingly enough, I wasn't expecting him to just be like, I don't care, get out of here.
Yeah. Just turns him down.
Yeah. I love the camp they have too. Like it just, like I said, one more thing, kind of MK11-ish in design, which I love. Honestly, I think MK11 probably has my favorite design elements out of all the NetherRealm stuff.
The look in that game is great. Like all the characters' costumes and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dialed
it's so
in.
Cool. And but yeah, and so he requests the audience with Baraka, and he comes out all just monstrous. Such a good job, his costume and effects. And he basically tells them like, we need, we'd like to, you've been impressed by Shao Kahn, so let's team up and go fight him, like let's and he's like, do you have an army? And he's like, no. He's like, then why are you wasting my time? Which I thought was hilarious. And wasn't really funny, but I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. I'd be asking the same thing. And this is another moment where Karl Urban shines. What he calls Hollywood negotiating, starts just talking a bunch of smack to Baraka, calls him a pussy. And I don't even think Baraka knows what a pussy is, at least by English name.
Yeah.
And stops, turns around, keeps listening to him. And I think ultimately he kind of says it. He finds Johnny Cage annoying. But he's letting Johnny Cage go on. And he's like, just saying like, you could have had this opportunity to fight this guy. He's the Mortal Kombat champion, or whatever he calls Liu Kang. And he's like, but fine. You want to just go be a big pussy, then whatever. And Baraka walks back down there. And he's like, I'll take your challenge. And, and Johnny Cage is all proud of himself. He's like, but I'm not fighting you. And he points to Liu Kang. He's like, I'm fighting you. To Johnny Cage. It's like, what? And
it wasn't expecting that.
Jax is over there. You're going to die, dude.
Yeah, nobody's giving him any positive encouragement.
No.
So, yeah, them.
And no, it was fantastic. I mean, it was pretty great. At first, he's running around trying to evade him. Evading all of his attacks. trying to hide. Runs into these this hut with these 2 Tarkatan kids, and he's like, "Oh, and of course they're just
I like when he first runs that hut. He just looks at them and it shows their face like, "Oh,
yeah,
like a Hank Hill moment."
yeah, exactly, yeah." And of course, Baraka storms back in there and just chasing after him, whatever, and finally get back into that pit where where it all started, in front of the others, and they tell him like, dude, you just got to act. You're an actor. Just act. And he does all this like swinging his arms and all around. I forgot to mention, we forgot to talk about when they first showed Johnny Cage in the movie, they show one of his old films.
And I think it says like 96 on it or something like that.
Yeah. And that was hilarious. Because it was so exaggerated. Like a lady shooting a RPG at him, and he just like jumps over it and it hits a helicopter somehow, and
even though it's going down,
like super exaggerated fighting and whatnot. And he does all this, and funny enough, he does that with Baraka, the like helicopterish arms thing. And Baraka's so like enamored by it, like he's swinging his arms too, but he's just kind of like, oh, like watching Johnny Cage, and he's just like, wow.
He's just dodging it and so on.
That's where Johnny Cage he does his signature splits and punches him in the balls and stands up, and that's where it totally just turns the tide of the fight, and Baraka just stops. He's like, that's the best fight I've ever had, and all of a sudden he's like, you must teach me your ways, Johnny fucking Cage, because that's what he addresses himself.
Yeah.
And so he agrees to take him to Shao Kahn's palace, but not inside, because Tarkatans aren't allowed anywhere near there. And he's like, I don't want to do this, but he's like, again, goofy but hilarious, like because they don't overdo it.
And they don't make him too goofy. Where like, I hate to say it once again, like a Marvel movie would take this character and make him like slapsticky goofy, where he's not threatening anymore. He's not like a monster character. Like he still has all the monster charm and all that kind of stuff. He just has that little tint of comedy to go along with Johnny Cage. And the fact that like for some reason he really likes Johnny Cage, I think works well.
Oh yeah, and he's stupid ass. Johnny Cage is like, thank you, my pupil, or whatever he calls him. Like, I will return and teach you my ways and all that. And but yeah, so from there they go into that temple. They find the amulet. I love how they're together, and Liu Kang's like, all right, let's split up to find that amulet, and like immediately finds the amulet, and it's like, I feel like he didn't need to split up. But he goes and tries to get that thing, but it's in this like weird cage thing, and he can't open it. And Shao Kahn shows up, and I loved that initial scene with this is a badass scene overall, but I love the initial scene with him and Shao Kahn. Like Shao Kahn says whatever he says, like, I'll kill you or who knows what, and Liu Kang just immediately, like, if there was ever a doubt in your mind that Liu Kang was still or wasn't that character from the first film, this should crush it, because it almost seems like it's also like almost Mortal Kombat Annihilation Redemption here too, because like, that silly dragon crap in the Annihilation, that CGI weirdness where the animality, in this one, no animality, but he does this like super flame like spectacle that I was like, oh my gosh, like lights up this entire hall, and with these giant flame dragons and whatnot. And he's like, I'm the last son of the dragon, I'm Liu Kang, and shoots him at Shao Kahn. And you're like, dude, if he wasn't immortal, he'd probably be dead. So cool, man. That was so cool. And then, he fights him a little bit, and then Jax shows up. And I'm thinking here, Liu Kang grabbed Shao Kahn's hammer at one point and starts beating that cage, right? And I'm like, can't get it open. And then Jax comes up and he's like, and squeezes it and breaks it, and I'm like,
okay.
Jax's arms are stronger than Shao Kahn's. I don't know about that, but I'm like, whatever. But no, Jax is helping out. He starts getting in on Shao Kahn too. Shao Kahn beats Liu Kang to where he like basically knocks him out. I think Sonya shows up too.
Yeah.
What's her name? Still chained up.
Katana.
Johnny Cage, I believe, shows up. Yeah, but they all get bested by him, and he kills Jax, which I was kind of sad about that. I was like, oh man, but it was a pretty brutal death. It was like Mortal Kombat appropriate, and like he just rips one of his arms off, and then which at first I was like, oh no, but then I was like, well, it's a metal arm. He could probably just get another one like he did the last time. Rips that arm off and then puts him up against one of the pillars in there, and like shoves the spear end of his hammer towards him, and I thought for a minute Jax was gonna not die. You know, he puts his hand up and the spear goes through his hand and he's kind of holding on to it, but then sure enough, Shao Kahn just shoves that thing right.
Just keeps pushing it. Yeah.
I'm like, oh man. And that was rough. Sonya, I think, was real upset and whatnot. Liu Kang's probably waking up.
Well, and I feel like you kind of need that in this one because you need to have Sonya lose her partner in a sense, and have it be Jax in this movie since that's the one she's tied to the most. You know, so I felt like that was kind of necessary there. Though strange enough, though, is Sonya kind of does a little bit of fighting more in this movie, but then she pretty much just gets like slapped out of the picture, and then she's kind of like done for. Like she literally is like knocked out for like the whole rest of the movie.
So after this, Shao Kahn goes to somewhere else, the courtyard or wherever it is that Katana's like chained to a rock or statue or whatever. He goes out there and basically the fighters recover. Johnny Cage grabs that amulet, and Kano shows up with a bunch of like goons from.
Yeah, I guess we kind of forgot. Yeah, Kano's got a lot of story going on here too.
Yeah, so earlier on in the film at this point, like backtracking a little bit, Kano's just been irritating the crap out of Quan Chi, right? You know, he's like, hey man, like how about a new eye? Like, come on, I can't see shit. Like, keep walking into stuff. What? And he's like, I'll get to it. He's like, how about you fucking get to it now? You know, and I love that he's still the same character. He's not intimidated by anyone. It's just great, man. Like, I'm so happy they brought him back.
Yeah, because it's one of those ones. Like I feel like, yeah, you kind of have. If there was a character you're going to bring back, you got to bring back Kano.
Yeah, and sure enough, Shao Kahn or Quan Chi's like, makes an eye and he's like, just throws it. And he's like, all right, fine, whatever. And
I like how he just rolls across the guy. He's like, oh no, you didn't just do that.
Yep, and he shoves that in his face, and there he is. He's got another eye again.
For some reason, it's got a laser beam in it.
Yeah, that's his Arcana that we won't talk about anymore.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so you don't see a whole lot of him up until this point. So he shows up with when Johnny Cage is there. Johnny Cage has the amulet at this point. Maybe Kano grabbed it. One of them had it and he grabbed it or whatever. The amulet's there. And Kano walks in with those goons. Johnny Cage, I think he's about ready to try to fight, defend himself. And then Kano lines him up basically and says like, all right, there we are, boys. And lines them up and then zaps them each through the head as they're lined up.
Yeah, and he one laser beam through them all.
Yep. And he turns around to basically tell Johnny Cage like, hey, here's the deal. Here's what we need to do. And before that, though, Jax is dead, and it's Liu Kang and Sonya, other than Johnny Cage. They get up, and they're like, all right, well, let's go try to fight, stop Shao Kahn, whatever, however that was going to go. And so they head off to there. And Kano and Johnny Cage, I'm wondering, at this point, with Kano killing them guys, I'm like, what is Kano's angle? And because I'm like, where's this going? Once again, like I said, like several times, like this movie kept me on my toes. Mm-hmm. And so it goes to they go back to Raiden's temple. It's Kano and Johnny Cage, and Raiden somehow is still like clinging to life. And you'd think he'd be a little, more like have a little more vitality as a demigod, but whatever.
No, you got a throat slit, I guess.
Yeah. And basically the plan is to go to the Netherrealm to, I'm not going to lie. I don't remember why they went to the Netherrealm. They went there. Oh, to destroy the amulet. They went there to destroy the amulet.
Yeah, I guess maybe the amulet was down there and so on.
Yeah.
Well, and then we got to kind of rephrase this. Kano, the whole reason that he kind of switched sides once again is that he kind of took a look at Outworld and said, like, well, this is kind of a shitty place. Like, what I mean? It's just all kind of desert-like and boring and so on like that. He's like, I like a lot of the things in like the earth and so on like that. He's like, well, I don't want to lose that part. So exactly. I'm joining your team now. Yeah.
He's like, he's all about the debauchery. He's not about wastelands. He's not about like weird, like torture chambers and stuff. He's like, I like beer. I like strip clubs. I like Coke. He's like, I like Jack and Coke. I like Jack and I like Coke. Like it's so believable too. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. You would switch sides for this, not for the good of humanity.
Yeah, and I think Kano's one of those kind of characters. He just goes sort of off of like instinct, so like he doesn't think too far ahead. He just kind of goes in the moment, And the moment, yeah, cool, Outworld, sure. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, wait a second, Outworld kind of sucks. Wait, I'm going back.
But yeah, so him and Johnny Cage go to the Netherrealm. They need a guide, right? So then, thankfully, they had something.
Cole's down there.
Yeah, right. But they had,
which all I think about is Cole has this. He mentions he's like, I got my wife and daughter and everything like that.
Yep.
What is Raiden's going to have to show up and explain all that? And Raiden's not very good at any of that. So
show up to the house with a folded American flag. The buddy, they need a guide.
Well, what happened to my husband? Well, he was his head was smashed in, and then he was kicked into like the acid pit. So
here's his remains. Just oh man, but yeah, so they need a guide.
There's a pile of acid that he died in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was kind of. I thought about that too when he got his head smashed to a pulp and then thrown in acid. I'm like, there he was talking about like I've got my daughter and my wife and I might not ever see him again. And I'm telling you, I was like, I sense some foreshadowing here. But yeah, so they make their way, Kano and Johnny Cage on the Netherrealm, and I love how they show up. And it's a beautiful garden. And of course, it's none other than Hanzo Hasashi, otherwise known as Scorpion. And love how Kano just he explains that it doesn't look like hell because he can make it look like as a tenant there, if you want to call it, like if you have a will strong enough or something like that, you can make it look like the way you want it to in your own like personal domain or whatever the hell. I don't know.
Yeah.
But looks beautiful. I think Kano says something like, like if this is hell, sign me up. Like this is fantastic. And like there's a peach tree. He grabs a peach, he's eating it, like this is fucking delicious, And Johnny Cage is talking to Hanzo. He's like, yeah, we need help. We need you to guide us to find this thing. And he's like, find someone else. I'm not gonna do it. And like
he's all like, well, here, let me tell you this.
Hanzo's back.
Yeah, Sub-Zero's actually back again. So
and immediately Hanzo's like what? And his little paradise kind of turns to death and decay, and that peach that Kano's eaten goes rotten in his mouth. He starts throwing up. I'm like, yeah. And so yeah, they do their traveling through the Netherrealm and meet up with none other than Noob Saibot, who Quan Chi resurrected earlier in the film. Yeah, what a cool fight, man. The Scorpion fighting Noob Saibot, Saibot fighting both or fighting Scorpion and Johnny Cage and Kano at the same time. And super cool. And there's a couple times where I thought Johnny Cage was going to die, but no, he survived. And
because it's Carl Urban, I knew that he was going to go the distance.
Yep. And right before Shao Kahn comes out to, I don't know, punish Kitana or whatever, Jade goes up to her and she tells her, like, you don't have to go through this if you just ask the Emperor for forgiveness and whatnot. And she's like, nope, I won't do it. This is a lifetime coming, whatever. And basically Jade it seems like she's at odds with herself, and she has she has Katana's fans, and as she's walking away, she slams him in the near her, like in the wall or something. And then as the Earth Realm, the Kano and Johnny Cage are headed to Nether Realm, she's talking to Shang Tsung, like, what are you doing? Like, because he's sitting in the throne. And interestingly enough, I thought there was going to be a little bit more there with Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. I thought they were going to do a little bit of the Deadly Alliance thing, like try to betray Shao Kahn, which I don't know, maybe next film or something. Even though Shao Kahn, is ultimately won't be in it, more than likely. Yeah. Yeah, he's like, oh, they went to the Nether Realm, and Jade's like, why don't you send me down there? He's like, oh, like, where do your allegiances lie? And she's like, I've made my choice, whatever. And what's his name? Shang Tsung goes off to Raiden's temple to go suck out the rest of his soul and kill him, stab him. And then Jade, I didn't quite realize it at first, but she, as soon as he walks out of the room, she slams her staff on the ground, and that little ornament of Shao Kahn that's on there breaks off. And well, it's a little bit of foreshadowing there. She ends up showing up in the Nether Realm and assists, which was pretty dang cool. Assists Scorpion and Johnny Cage and Kano in defeating Noob and destroying that amulet. And before that, though, I don't think we've talked about it very much, but the fatalities in this movie, they did a lot of them, and they were all
they're good,
pretty good. The Scorpion using his sword and slicing Noob in half, his like ghostly part of himself, that was pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. And there was the saw blade, Sonya using her
energy rings, the blasters, Sindel.
Mm-hmm. And then Johnny Cage finally gets his power, which is that like super kick or whatever you want to call it.
The little energy thing around him.
Mm-hmm. And then of course they defeat Noob. The amulet's destroyed. Before that, though, going back to Shao Kahn, he shows up to Katana. She's chained up, and Liu Kang and Sonya show up as well to fight Shao Kahn. Here I am thinking, that Liu Kang is going to mess up Shao Kahn, like beat Shao Kahn for sure, because we've seen it a couple times at this point. Puts up a good fight. Him and Sonya put up a good fight, but ultimately Shao Kahn kills Liu Kang. Once again, another spear through the chest. Yep. And I was like, what? And the really cool effect they did where like fire, starts going in Liu Kang's eyes, and I'm like, well, what is going to happen here? Is he like going to turn into a fire god or something? And no, he dies. But he says, like, I understand now. I'm not supposed to win this tournament. My purpose is to rescue my friends. He took Kung Lao and whoever else, Cole, I guess, in the from their death, I guess. And so that's the end of Liu Kang, and I was surprised. But
yeah, that one kind of surprised me. It did feel like, well, more, Liu Kang's died in a Mortal Kombat before, so, but like it still was one of those ones like, oh well, that's kind of a ballsy choice. But I kind of liked it. I felt like that was a good way to go. Yeah. It
was ballsy, but I was like, yeah, no, that's all right. And then of course Sonya grabs the Katana's fan blade and runs up to her chains and unleashes them and says fight. And which I thought was pretty cool. And I read in an article too that was unscripted. Either unscripted or she came up with it or whatever, but
yeah, probably she came. I can't imagine it being kind of unscripted. It's too like impactful for that to be like,
yeah. But yeah, no, that was that was really cool. And then they show, it's basically Katana and Shao Kahn.
Well, it does a cool thing because it's like it makes it feel like when Liu Kang dies, it shows those flames up like at the top, like how many outworld there is to Earthrealm, and so it looks like Earthrealm's lost, and then Outworld dies too. But then when Katana, she switches sides right there, so then it's like, oh no, Earthrealm got a new fighter.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know how quite I felt about that.
It feels like it was a little bit cheating, but since Shao Kahn's been cheating this whole time, I feel like it's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, I don't know if it's that simple, but you know what? I'm just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
Also Katana was double agent the whole time. So
yeah.
She puts up a dang good fight against Shao Kahn. And for a while, he is got the immortal thing going on. Sonya's still not exactly down for the count. She makes another attempt to kind of help out, and then
a couple hits in,
like he punts her, like football punts her, and it's kind of hilarious on the screen. She's like,
and it hits the wall, and then she's literally out for the rest of the movie. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, until I think you don't see her again until the prologue, I guess.
Yeah, she wakes up as the credits are practically about to roll.
Yeah, and then it's pretty much just Katana and Shao Kahn, and she smokes him, man. I mean, it was a super good fight. I guess she was there where she was about to lose. Shao Kahn's choking her out, and then she, of course, gets that.
Yeah, gets that little ribbon
and whatnot. She wakes back up and stabs the crap out of him. While Liu Kang was alive.
Well, and then also, go ahead with that real quick.
Say a few things that were like, I was just sitting there like in the sea, like, oh my gosh, dude, like was in the fight for the amulet, and then once again, when they went out to like courtyard or whatever, Liu Kang's like just like screaming fire in his face, like through that helmet. I'm like, God, that is so crazy. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say is that once Johnny Cage and Scorpion and all those guys beat Noob Saibot and they get the amulet back, that's what gets Raiden to get his powers back, which takes away Shao Kahn's immortality. So there's all this like domino effect of how these things are all leading up so that Katana can finally have an even fight.
Yeah. Yep. And right after that, I mean, she totally smokes him, cuts his throat, stabs him in the head. She rips off his helmet. And
it's cool because it's the first time you see Shao Kahn. He's not walking around without his helmet on, kind of like an Annihilation, which always felt kind of uncanny.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, this was definitely quite a step up for Shao Kahn from Annihilation. He's not just a dude. He's a definite like creature race. Like he's like the dragon race, like something that is similar to Onaga, or he's like a descendant or something like that, whatever. But such a cool scene and a great design. I mean, once again, they did their homework on that. But smokes him and takes his place there. Everybody's chanting Katana. I thought she becomes
Katana Con, which I think is badass because I thought that was one of the coolest things. And because what was 11. The one where she wins? Yeah, it was in 11. And it doesn't last very long, which I think was kind of a missed opportunity.
Because honestly, in my opinion, stupid writing is why it doesn't last very long.
Yeah, but, and stupid like multi-dimensional crap that doesn't need to be there in the first place.
Time Crisis belongs as a light shooter. Not as a Mortal Kombat problem. She becomes Khan. I kind of laughed though when that happened because she defeats him and everybody bows and she's like, "No, don't bow." And this person goes, "Katana Arc," and all I was thinking is I think they're saying her name wrong. I'm pretty sure Katana, not Katana, but I was just being silly. But
some foreigner that got hired for this job doesn't even know what Mortal Kombat is. Never seen a video game in their entire life.
But no, that was badass. And then of course that was pretty much it. And at the temple, Shang Tsung about to finish off Raiden. Too late because that amulet gets destroyed. His power goes back and Raiden just zips right up and just like smashes Shang Tsung, which you don't really see much more of that. I don't think. I think you just see him like beat the crap out of him, but you don't really see him die or anything.
No, I was kind of wondering if you're going to get a little bit more of a fight between Raiden and Shang Tsung.
And I'm sure the reason why they did that is to still retain some enemies for whatever upcoming film there may be, you know. After that, we're left with a handful of heroes, not very many. You've got Kitana, Sonya, Johnny Cage, and that's it.
Because what happens to Kano, real quick?
There's Kano, but he's not exactly a hero, you know.
No.
So Kano, he shows back up with Quan Chi in chains, you know, like
that. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because somehow, some way, he captures Quan Chi. They never really showed it. He just brings him in some way.
So they've captured Quan Chi, and they tell him like, yeah, we're going to use him to get your friends back, you know, and they're like, yep, you know, like we'll do that, and then we'll arrest Kano and. You know, and what's his name? Shang Tsung's on the loose, I guess, and that's that. Their whole thing from there. They talk about, we're gonna go and get our friends, more or less, and then it kind of part of that is Johnny Cage is telling the story of what happened. And he's telling the Tarkatan kids and Baraka, they're all sitting in a circle like it's a Boy Scout camp out. And they're like, so again, like enamored with Johnny Cage, like, oh, and then what happened? Like it's hilarious. And then of course Raiden shows up. He's like, I don't remember it happening like that, you know. And you know, one thing about Johnny Cage in this one, he's not a ladies' man, not really.
No, and I think it's just that thing about Carl Urban. It sounds weird, but like I don't look at that guy like a kind of like the ladies' man, like that you would think like the regular Johnny Cage would be.
And again, I mean, he is that burnt out era of Johnny Cage, so that's probably to be expected. But
because there's no Johnny Cage Sonya relationship at all yet. He never hits on her or anything like that.
No, and this, like, of course, it's got its own original ending compared to any other Mortal Kombat movie or game. But like I said, I'm seeing a lot of cues from some of those games. Like at the end of Mortal Kombat 9, almost everyone's dead except for Johnny Cage and Sonya. And it's like Johnny Cage, Sonya, and Raiden. And then, you know, the Kitana being Khan was in 11 because technically in 9, she's dead at the end. But they make Kitana Khan. There's only like 2 heroes at this point. And then in the you know, what came after 9 was the whole battle with Shinnok in 10, right? You know, and so it really feels like to me that they took a lot of really cool elements from those games and put them together for this film. But again, I don't know. I could just be thinking too much, but it seems similar to me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was just what a wild ride, man. I mean, I haven't been this pleased with a modern movie in quite a while.
That's the same way I felt too. Like I was like literally just super stoked by this the whole way through. And it's just, once again, there's nothing I can really complain about. There was like, you get maybe really nitpicky on some real small stuff, but like everything about it was so fantastic. Though I will say, like, I was kind of watching through the credits and everything like that. And I was kind of hoping that this felt like a movie that was going to have a little bit of a teaser or something like that. And it didn't have anything.
I looked it up. As we were, as the credits started to roll, I looked it up. Like, does MK2 have a after credit scene? And said no. So I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer because I was kind of expecting that because I was just wondering. I felt like there was going to be maybe like a Shinnok type thing or whatnot because that's who I'm guessing is going to be like in the next one. Is you'll still have Shang Tsung running around, of course, but I think Shinnok would be the next bad guy. And I feel like it would be sort of a fusion of Mortal Kombat 3 characters, but also Mortal Kombat 4. And I could even see some other things thrown in there too.
Yeah. I'm sad to say, man, the box office, the opening weekend for it didn't do that great. And I think a reason for that, a couple reasons. One, not a lot of people like the first one. You know, it wasn't very well received. 2, there's a couple of other movies out there that just came out that I wouldn't think they'd compete in general, but you've got the Devil Wears Prada 2 and the Michael Jackson movie.
Yeah. Now, granted, the Michael Jackson movie's been out for a couple of weeks by now.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But the Devil Wears Prada 2 came out, I think, on the same day, or at least like
Yeah, because it hit that Mother's Day kind of release.
But yeah, that
or no, it looks like Devil Wears Prada has been out for a moment. 2 weeks. So it technically it didn't have two. I mean, it had some like other movies, like, but nothing really to be in its total way.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll say it's Mortal Kombat, like just for its weekend gross was $40 million. I mean, I take it back. The Devil Wears Prada made $150 million.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's over the 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks. My bad. It made 40 million as well too. So it made the same thing as Devil Wears Prada almost
In its opening weekend.
Yeah, maybe not the opening. The opening weekend, I think Devil Wears Prada made twice as much. But
yeah, the opening weekend for Mortal Kombat I'm seeing is 63 million worldwide.
Yeah. And it looks like it's gone up because even like here it says it's at 60 million on a budget of 80 million, but that's only the first week. So if you give it 2 more weeks, I think it's going to more than probably double its budget.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's hope so.
And hopefully word of mouth kind of goes too and just kind of gets it going.
Oh, yeah. Well, and so there's a channel that I watch, a couple channels that I watch that they usually roast movies. Like they're really hard on movies and shows and stuff. One's called Nerdrotic and the other one's called The Critical Drinker. The Critical Drinker is pretty hilarious. He's like no nonsense. He like is rough on movies and shows, and it's always he does a lot of the Disney and Marvel stuff. And he's like, yeah, this is garbage. This is effing stupid, you know. And on this one, he's like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, this is a fantastic film. Like nothing bad. And he's like, I actually liked the first one, but it had its problems. This one, like, this is what happens when you actually listen to your fans, you know, like, and sure enough, man, it just I don't know. I really hope because I've seen I've seen one review. It was on Yahoo News of the film that was like total crap. The person that wrote it was like, it just seemed like they wrote it wanting to hate it. Like they just didn't even want to try.
Yeah, they probably don't like Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Some people like that's the thing is like that's why like you get that weird thing about critics where it's like some of them I think just want to be negative to be negative. It's like they've almost like lost like their sense of fun and everything like that. And they're just at that point where they're just looking for everything bad in a movie.
Yeah, I almost wish they would have this would have been the movie that started the reboot.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. My hope is that this carries the franchise further, and that for the next movie they do, keep doing what they did with this one.
Yeah. Well, it's a perfect example of like, there's so many times there's a lot of movies out there that like the first one comes out and it's not bad. It's still decent or something like that, but it's got some flaws. And you go, hey, if you just make a sequel, you can just fix all that stuff and it can really come around. And then a lot of times, sadly, there never is a sequel. This is like one of the first times where like they put that sequel out and it's like, see, you can totally turn that ship around and fix all the issues and so on like that and have a fantastic movie, you know?
Yeah. No.
And hopefully, as I said, like hopefully it's like this is going to lead into a excellent like, you know, series, you know, there'll be a Mortal Kombat 3 and maybe even a 4 or something like that. Because I actually do think that the next wave of kind of big movies is actually going to be video game movies. I think comic book movies are going to still be there, but I think the comic book movies are kind of they're kind of the backburners ones now.
With how detailed and crazy and lore ridden that a lot of games are these days, that have been for the last like 20 years, really.
Yeah, literally the 90s.
There's a lot of games that could be made into movies nowadays that are fantastic. And now that people are getting their feet wet, you know, because clearly there's a lot of video game movies out there that are not amazing movies, or they're just bad adaptations or whatever.
Yeah, there's some goofy ones.
But then again, there's some that got terrible reviews, but were pretty good.
Yeah, well,
we talked about before, like Prince of Persia. That's a good movie.
Yeah, it was decent enough. Yeah, well, it's like there's a lot of ones out there too where it's like I like actually probably more video game movies than I dislike, I would say, at the end of the day. You know, I think a lot of them some of them you got to kind of take with a grain of salt, kind of like, you know, Resident Evil. You got to go into that. Don't expect like Resident Evil the game. Expect something kind of different, and then it's kind of interesting. Sure. But then there's ones like the Silent Hill movies that I thought were really good. You know, of course, I like Mortal Kombat. I even like the Street Fighter 1994 one, you know, and those game ones they're breaking ground is what they're doing and so on like that. I mean, Mario Brothers 1993 is still one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, I love that one. Like, I actually really like that film.
Yeah, I love that movie, and that's not like in a weird, ironic way. That's like I legitimately like that movie. Like I never have known what was wrong with that one. Like I never even heard people talk bad about it till like I was almost like in high school. Like everybody I grew up with loved that movie, so I thought it was strange when I heard that people didn't like that movie.
I know. Gosh, I'm pretty excited for that new Street Fighter film. That looks pretty cool.
That one's gonna be really sweet too.
I will say this. Another critique that I would say it's slightly more than a nitpick, but I also am going back to taking what I can get and accepting this movie for being the awesome gem that it is because what I'm about to say, I think it's just in more and more movies nowadays. When you look at the Mortal Kombat 95 and even Annihilation in some of the scenes versus the new Mortal Kombat reboot, there's not a huge amount of actual choreographed, like actual martial arts. You know what I mean? A lot of really cool fights, really explosive fights. But for example, the Katana versus Kung Lao, I'm sorry, Liu Kang versus Kung Lao. That's an amazing fight. Like I said, I think that's the best fight in the movie. I love it. But you compare that to like Liu Kang's fight with Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 95. That is so much more of a like legitimate martial arts fight, or any of his fights with the ninja, with Sub-Zero, with Reptile. There was such a good focus that movie had on the actual martial arts. In this movie, you don't see full body like legit fighting style martial arts. You know what I mean? But I think that's just the way that a lot of these movies are made nowadays. It's just like Star Wars, the prequels and the originals, they had choreographed lightsaber fights. In the sequels, they're close-ups of their face. They do change it around a bit, but it's still in this Mortal Kombat one. I feel like it still works well in its like favor. It does. It really does.
Where I guess like the original Mortal Kombat, like the 95 one, it's treated more as a straight martial arts movie. Yes. Where this one's treated more like a fantasy martial arts movie, kind of like how the games, in a sense are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, that's kind of somewhere between a nitpick and maybe a little more, but at the same time, it's like, once again, taking this movie for exactly what it is, it's no problem. Like to get a pass on that so easily. Yeah. Because of how awesome it is, but I might go see it again.
I know it's one of those ones like I liked it that much that I would even love to see it again too as well if I had it closer. But for sure, it's like one of those ones of mine's like I just go out and buy this right when it came out. Like I liked it that much, And I don't feel like I haven't liked a movie in a long time where I felt like I was going to go out of my way and buy it right off the bat. So
yeah.
That's pretty cool about it. So I think we're in a good run for these new video game movies out there and so on like that. And we'll see how Street Fighter does. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about it, though. I love how like this new wave of like video game movies for the most part. It's like they're almost doing the exact same movies that came out like in the 90s. They're just like Mario Brothers, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. The only other thing is that you have Sonic the Hedgehog in here as well too, as being one of the other big ones at the moment. But
yeah. Time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But more Mortal Kombat good times. Hopefully, this is the other thing I was thinking is hopefully this might reignite that Warner Brothers animation to do another Mortal Kombat one. Because I think for the fact that this one hopefully is going to do decent enough that it might make Warner Brothers want to make one in between at least, or even a couple of them, because they haven't really done much. They haven't really done any like superhero ones either. So I don't know what's going on with Warner Bros. Animation, but yeah, we'll see what happens there. But Mortal Kombat 2, check this one out in cinemas. Like literally, I can't think of a movie in like a long time that I've been this enamored with and loved like right off the bat, just whole way through. Just walked out, smile on my face. I was like, dude, this is fucking good. You know what I mean? Like it was so good that I was even thinking about it too. It's like if I take nostalgia out of the equation for the 95 one, this one's almost like on par with that one, and maybe even slightly better in certain ways, and so on like that. My nostalgia probably will always out. You can't take that away from 95 and all the memories.
I kept thinking about it, and I still just I don't know. I like them both quite a bit, and I can't really decide which one I like better.
Yeah,
they're two different eras,
Yeah.
I guess they both just belong in your house.
Exactly. They're just ones that go in the collection. You put them right there next to Annihilation because you know what? You're a true Mortal Kombat fan, so of course you have Annihilation.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I look forward to all the new Mortal Kombat coming out and seeing where we go. You know, if we ever get excited enough, we go watch those Mortal Kombat Legacy movies or TV things, whatever the hell they are. You know, just for the hell of it. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 2 had a good run of all the Mortal Kombat movies leading up to this, including the animated ones. But beyond all that, you can always check out all those podcasts and more of Old Man Orange at YouTube and Spotify. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Dave Candido.
And we'll see you some other time.